we see that our industry is alive, is willing to create new content, to generate new controversial poetic statements, and why not? To experiment new ways of financing and creating economy and making the creative industries more and more experimental than before. No doubt, we are coming out of a period of uncertainty with the awareness and the stability that our industry is not only thriving the imaginary collectively, but we are also creating the condition for new talents, upcoming directors, young producers, new professionals to join the circus of the film industry and make the world a more consistent place where experiments of sustainable economic model, solid cooperation within the communities and the territories, and we believe a more challenging, necessary poetic and storytelling of the reality can find place. We like to stake and how institutions can actually improve their capacity to bring more money to the table, to make more functional choices for an industry that doesn't want to repeat old and existing models, but is actually accepting the challenge of a changing time and of a changing world that deserves and requires new strategies and new storytelling talents. We believe deeply, strongly, that there is no more space for division within the industry relationship between private and public funding. There is no more time to discuss if it is really the case that the public institutions carrying public money invest in the industry. It is stated, it is solid, the experiences of tax credit, of public investment through regional funds has proved to be a successful choice. We are collecting everywhere great results. And now it's the time to raise the bar even higher and decide what are the next areas where we can put our stakes in a different, let's say, game rule changing. What can we actually put in place to give more space of experimentation and freedom to talents, to investors, and of course, to all the amazing generation of professionals above and below the line that are investing in this segment of the creative industry. I don't want to steal too much time, but as you can imagine, it's great to have here friends that represent the north, the south, the center of our Italian system of production. We are here talking to everybody calling from Europe, from all over the planet, because we think that Italy has been highly exposed to a negative policy. The COVID didn't help us at all. It was very hard to reconstruct trust in our capacity of managing a crisis. I think we all succeeded well, but as you see, we are all wearing masks and we are all responsibly running events in the entire country to make sure that we're not feeling that the danger is over. But we like to think that just a new moment has started. We were before responsible for the security and the safest work condition for the crews. It was not evident in the past. Now it's just more visible. And we want to turn this as an opportunity to make our industry more aware of the capacity of making it a real sustainable model of the workspace, of the workforce, and bringing in our stories, concept of well-being, of a better life that our planet deserves and we all need in order to survive. We are here in this wonderful landscape. And again, thank you so much to the organizers of the Olbia Film Network, because despite all the odds, despite these last crazy weeks, we are here showing that it is possible to keep working, not business as usual, but business much better. We have to invest in this awareness. The Italian system is, of course, regulated by many changes and weekly news that we think are positive. Every region in the last months had to create new solutions to implement, extensions of the COVID expenditures, admission of different deadlines, changing existing guidelines for the calls and the financial support. In Sardinia, as you know, we finance short films for productions coming from all over the world. The regulation is still very much limited to what is called the regional interest, where there is clearly an attention to the content. But we're also opening, like other regions, and we will hear it very soon, to other formats. Must say, Italy has opened on one way the traditional short film production to financial support, but you will see it this morning, and you will see it in the months ahead. More new funding has been developed to finance short films based on content, so with regulations that actually open up specific content to the audiovisual format of short films. We did it in Sardinia with the sustainable short films. We will do it again on the existence of the awareness of minority languages recognized by the EU that deserve to be somehow pushed and protected producingly. That's why there are more financial support coming from Sardinia, from the Catalonia region, from Latvia and other countries where there is an official recognition of the minority European language. You will see that there are more experiences coming up, complexity coming from the social reality that allows more funds that were not originally conceived for the audiovisual to be open for the short film experimentation. We see more and more institutions, including ministers, including region and provinces, financing short films. And we think this is an opportunity not to go to the usual easy-to-do short film delivery, but to make real areas of experiment, to make producers really challenge their companies, their strategy, and invest into something new. That's why I'm very honored today to have here in Olbia to speak about the different reactions to the new waves of emergency dash possibility. Our fellows, will start with Renate Ranzi. Renate is an amazing talent coming from an experience in production, and as we know, the Alto Adige special province has, from the very beginning of its existence, invested extensively in the combination of training and production, bringing to the table a higher stake for high finance combined with a very clear development strategy. So, Renate, we are very glad that you're here. The floor is yours to introduce your regional, I would say, special province strategy for short films. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm Renate Ranzi. I'm representing IDM Film Funding Commission, and we're in South Tyrol, so it's the northern province of Italy. And I would say our film commission and our film fund is quite young because we are on the table since 2010, so it's almost 10 years. We have birthday this year. And as Emina said before, for us, it was very clear already from the beginning that it was important to not just invest with money, because we have a, would say, quite big film fund for such a small region, because we have 5 million per year. And with this, we can fund projects in pre-production and production. But already from the beginning, it has been quite clear that we would like to invest not only this money, but we would like to train also our local film industry, because, of course, we have a local film school, but okay, it's called DELLE, it's a school for documentary. And so for us, it was very important to also focus on the assistants and on all other like filmmakers we have on the territory. So that's basically, I think, what makes us a little bit special on this side, that we are investing also a lot of our effort, of our money, of our energy in those local filmmakers and in trainings and so on. So what we did since now is we financed over 250 film projects in production and pre-production, which I would say it's quite a lot for being only here since 10 years. And we had over 3,500 shooting days in the region, and we have a local effect from 66 million euro. And that's, of course, you know, the regional fundings, that's the system behind. In our case, it's that we ask, at least for the longer formats, we ask at least a local spend from 150%. So that's one of our most important criteria. Of course, we are adapted to other European funds, and another specialty is that in our case, the funding is independent from the location of the production company. So you don't have to have a production company in South Tyrol, neither in Italy, neither you need a co-producer there. So it's really independent from where you are. And that's, I would say, very not normal maybe. And what we did decide in order to push our local talents is that we said, okay, we are investing a lot in them, we are doing training initiatives, but still there is the dynamic that when producers are coming from Germany, from Austria, from Italy, nevertheless from where, there is this dynamic that the head of departments, you maybe know that, are taking their first assistant with them. You know, that's of course because it's a key figure. You trust this person, and so you take, if you're a head of department, you take your first assistant with you. And it's very, for a region, it's very, very difficult to enter in these dynamics because it's just, yeah, it's difficult, you know. And so, as I said before, we're trying to push them, we're trying to invest in those talents, but we see also after 10 years, the industry is growing, and this is of course one of our most important goals, to grow the film industry, to create jobs and so on. But still, it's very difficult for us to push the filmmakers into those higher positions on the set, no? And so we said, okay, let's invest, let's develop a fund for short films and short form series. So we did that, and I think we will come back even later a little bit. Well, I will let you know in general what's the criteria. It did not already start. It will start within 2021, so within next year. And the key information is that we finance projects up to 52 minutes. So it's quite long also. It's quite generous, I would say. And we are financing up to 70% of the total cost, of the total production costs of the project. And we ask, and that's, I would say, at least for us, one of the most important criteria, we ask this local spend of at least 60%. It's not 150%, as I told you before, within the longer formats, but it's 60% of local regional spend you need to have. And this one, it's a little more complex because we said we're not happy if you just invest it in hotels or in structures or anything, but we wanted to invest it in the core creative team of the territory. So we defined like 8 different positions, which is the producer, the director, the author, the actor, the editor, the composer, the director of photography, and the production designer. I'm happy I did it because always I forget one position. So it's this 8 positions actually. And that's what is very important for us, that at least one of these positions you take from our territory. And that's why, I mean, I'm here until Tuesday, I think, yeah. And so if you're interested, we can we can get in contact, we can talk about also the positions we have, because we have like a list, an online category, it's called Directory, where our local filmmakers are registered. And of course, I mean, there are some who really started in doing their job already 10 years ago with the film fund. So I really want to say that we have really now good trained filmmakers. And so I think in our case, and that's what I'm also a little bit trying to understand these days and these months, is how to create these networking moments where you can bring those 2 words, let's say, this together. Because I already talked to a lot of producers who are interested to come to our territory to ask for a short film and for the fund for short films and short form series. And then I always tell them, yeah, but attention, you have to take one person of the core creative team from South Tyrol. And then I discovered that it's not so easy because, of course, choosing a position like this only from a list in internet, it's not easy, of course, and I'm totally aware of that. So for me, one of the challenges is to understand how to bring these two words together before. So that's, yeah, basically.
That's very clear, Renata. You're leading us to the awareness that is very much true for those that work within the Film Commission and the Film Funds world, of a role that makes the institution move from the position of public functionaries into more creative producers types, where evidently the territory of short films allowed more experimentation and in a way invests even more the institutions to be somehow talent scouters in their territories. So I will jump into the Skype connection and see now Raffaella Del Vecchio, because if there is one film commission that has been deeply investing in this awareness of the talent of the region combined to a very strong international vocation, that is the Apulia Film Commission. So Raffaella Del Vecchio, you have been in the industry playing internationally and nationally for so many years. You guys have led the route to many experiments, and once again, even in the realm of short films, we saw in the past 10 years the Apulia Film Commission experiment various formats and various ways to invest the local professionals within the short format to discover local stories, but also to tell the world Apulia exists. The floor is yours, Raffaella. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Hi, do you hear me?
Yes, clear and loud.
Okay, good, good. Good morning, buongiorno a tutti. Thank you for having me here. And it's my first time at the Olbia Film Network, so I moved. Puglia has been doing many things in the past 14 years, unfortunately, is longer than 10. I'm old. But what happened is that the main priority that we have already had was to focus on talent. So Puglia has many talents as any other region. What happened is that they're hidden, and we have to give to all talents within the movie industry, of course, the possibility to. Are you lowering down the volume? Is it okay now?
It's great.
Okay. So our focus was on giving the priority to especially young talents, to give them a voice. So within these years, we have been planning different activities. We have been, as Neve know very well, screenwriting workshop, and then we have had also festivals, and then we have organized seminars, and we have been building up along these years festivals dedicated to short movies, as any other region. I mean, this is very common. What happened is that we have also, considering that Puglia has no official movie schools, we have been giving the opportunity to those young talents that has been studying abroad or that has been studying out of the region. Let's just not forget that Rome still is the main city where to start, at least to start your activities. I'm sorry, my cat is coming to say hello. I'm sorry.
We love it.
So what happened? I'm sorry. So what happened is that for all those that were, just to give you an example, that were in schools out of the region, then for the essay or their final exam, they had to prepare a short movie. That's the first thing that you're asked to present. And what happened is that all those young directors or cinematographers or even screenwriters came back home to tell about their places. So what happened is that is that Puglia has any other own place is where you have your roots and is where your creativity is finds its fire. So being the short movie, the only opportunity to express totally creative freedom, because you don't need a storytelling, you don't need a plot. I mean, you can hear all thoughts about that from Jane Campion or David Lynch. You know, you can do anything you want. And this is especially for the young students, a possibility to express and discover themselves. So to start a trip within themselves and find their inner voice, their inner talent, their chance to give the world a possibility to know themselves. So, considering this catharsis, we have been organizing different operations for any steps of the creative way. And right now, for 2020 and years to follow, we have 3 different opportunities for the short movies format. So we do have a short digital production fund that is linked between short animation and gaming, because the world is changing. So now short movies can be the start to many new things. You could start from a short and then go to a game, a video game, or some kind of new other forms of experimentation. VR, a lot of VR as well we have been seeing. So the first fund, that is the short digital production fund, is dedicated to works from 5 to 10 minutes, 20 minutes maximum, including the opening and closing credits for series pilot or a basic short movie. And the budget that we have for that, for each of those short movies, is 35,000 euros, because we have understood in these years that you don't need that much money. And when you're focusing on a short and you think you need a lot of money, maybe you are not focusing right on what you have and what you need to communicate. This has been a test for us as well while writing our funds, so to understand precisely what was the need, basically, of the director, because producers, whether they are young or older, still are there just checking the budget, but directors are those that really needs to express themselves as much as they can. So this is the first one that we have, the short digital fund. Then we have in our normal Apulia Film Fund, the one that any of you knows. We also have the short category, and for that, criteria are a little bit different because it's huge budget, so we have to consider and we have to ask, we are in need of asking, for example, 20% of the total budget already in place before asking, and at least 25% of the work in shooting in the region. The minimum that we could give is 10,000 euros to a maximum of 40,000 euros. And our film fund is always open. So these are the main opportunities for international fictional shorts, basically. But then we do also have, mainly for the Southern Italian audience, another fund that is called the Social Film Fund, in collaboration with Fondazione con il Sud, that is dedicated to give a voice to those regions from Basilicata, Calabria, Campania, Puglia, Sardegna, Sicilia, the opportunity to use either the short movies or the documentary format to give the world the opportunity to know what is going on in these regions. Mainly, these are short movies dedicated to social issues, civil rights, women situations in these sometimes disgraceful places. So what happened is, or environment as well, it's a possibility to give a voice, raise a voice, and give a chance to be creative, but at the same time, not to be ashamed of the place we are born or we live in, and just transform it so to give some light. Yeah, let's say like this, just give some light.
Thank you, Rafa. This is great. And once again, you're leading the way to include more and more a completely different concept of territory. You do understand, guys, that having a fund that, you know, belongs technically and administratively to a Puglia, but is open already to the regions of the Italian South, leads us to a concept of macro region, in a way that redefines not only strategically for itself the content, but for the alliances that producing-wise you can create and generate. And of course, matching this fund with other initiatives that the territories are putting in place has been basically the, I would say, pivotal idea of the Friuli Venezia Giulia Film Fund. And I really thank you so much, Alessandro, for being with us, because we always look, as Sardinia, at Friuli Venezia Giulia as the region that we matched first, because we came first with the regional law for cinema. But in a way, our approach to financing film has been incredibly more conventional than what Friuli Venezia Giulia has developed in these years. You guys also released the regional regulation in 2006. But we can see the radical changes improved year after year through the creation of the fund, through the creation of the When East Meet West platform. And you guys really, speaking about macro region, led the way to all of us to believe that the concept of frontier is not at all a burden, is not at all a boundary, but it's actually a platform and a springboard to innovation. Your floor is yours. Lead us the way.
Thank you, Nevina, and thank you everybody for being here. It's super nice to be here after the Venice Film Festival and see how we are all hungry for going back to what reality used to be before everything happened last March. So it's very nice to be here. It's very encouraging. And I think it's very useful to be today here to understand what is the vision behind all of us, because I think that once producers get better, what are the goals, the intentions, the motivations for the setup of each of our funds, it could be very much easier than to combine them, because I think that one of the keywords of this funding ecosystem is really how we can possibly be complementary and somehow be much more useful and effective for your projects and your career development. As Nevina was saying, we, as an audiovisual fund, we were set up in 2006 with the law, and the fund started to operate in 2007. But in our region, there was already a film commission. So let's say that we have a kind of peculiar situation in our region. Basically, we had a film commission that was operating with a film fund for production since 2003. And the film fund was a film fund for, let's say, attracting producers in the region, investing money in the region, and it was mainly given out to producers and films according to the number of shooting days and according to the number of technicians involved, local technicians involved in the film production. The reason why our audiovisual fund was set up was a main need for our local industry in terms of creative industry. So our main target from the very beginning was the bunch of producer and also all the directors, authors, and all the creative elements that can possibly be part of a film. So first of all, we started to be complementary to what we had already in the region. And the way we wanted to be complementary was, in a way, on the funding system that we created and all the, let's say, landscape of initiatives that we organized to possibly make this possible. So that's why, for example, from the very beginning, we set up a funding system very focused on training. And also here, we decided to opt for being complementary to what let's say, what was the already existing opportunities. So we created a certain number of partnerships from the very beginning with important training providers around Europe, from EAVE, Eurodoc, Torino Film Lab, all the main, let's say, training programs. We created a partnership in order to enable our filmmakers and producers, that was our first target, to be part of these programs to best develop their projects and to be part of an international network. And we were supporting them basically with scholarship that were fully covering the cost of participation. I don't know, here in the room, some of you attended some of these programs and they know how expensive are. For example, attending a workshop like EAVE in general can cost 8,000 to 9,000 euros a year for the full workshop. And of course, for a producer, for an independent producer, deciding to invest so much money in a workshop is always like very an important decision. So basically we facilitate this, the connection to be part of that and the possibility to cover the cost. Another line of the funding system of our fund is the development. Basically what we consider is the most important funding element of our funding system is the funding for development. From the very beginning we supported documentaries, fiction, TV series, animation, and of course, short films for developing there. So basically the idea was our fund is the first fund to come in. It's the first one investing in a project and making the project somehow interesting for the national and international market from the very beginning, somehow forces our filmmakers and our producers to develop projects that can already work for an international market, and it gives to the project a sort of like power to attract easily the match funding necessary for developing and producing the film. And this is still the logic of the complementarity with the other co-financing opportunities. Finally, we decided that we didn't have a huge budget to be so effective in terms of production. And what we decided was, okay, we come in first with development and training, but we come most of the time at the latest stage for production with a fund that is called distribution fund, but it's a distribution fund masked because basically it covers production cost, but it's given only if you have a distribution secured. So basically, we want you to develop at best your projects, and we want to make sure that these films will be seen. So this was like the logic. And of course, what we wanted to work with was to work with our local industry in terms of production companies and talents. So basically, of course, we are very targeting a lot our, let's say, regional film industry, but what we were also pushing to do was to work on a macro-regional level with our neighboring countries, especially from Croatia and Slovenia, but also with all the other national possible partners and international partners. So let's say that for a producer that is based in our region, it's much easier to have access to our funding, even scouting filmmakers from Sardinia or from Bolzano, and they can apply to our regional fund and maybe shoot in Apulia. So this is the logic of like finding ways to best cooperate together. But for a producer from Sardinia that wants to shoot in Bolzano, maybe it's possible to have access to our fund if they have some creative elements like the author, like the DOP, editor, and Renate, the others, you mentioned them all before. So basically, no matter what is the format, this is the logic behind. So you can apply this to every type of format. Concerning shorts, from the very beginning, we were very, very in favor of supporting shorts because it was the best way to develop the skills of our filmmakers and the skills of all the creative elements involved in that. Because of course, most of the time we think about producers and directors, but short films for us now, even more than before, because now I think that we work a lot on our producers and our filmmakers, and this is like something that I'm reconnecting to what Raffaella was saying before about speaking about film schools. I think it's so important also to find new great DOPs, editors, production designers, all that is somehow maybe not as visible as present as the other creative elements of a film. So basically, just to say, okay, we do support shorts in development and for production. Here, the fund for production is not linked to a distribution secure, so you can get the production fund for short films, but it's linked to the development. So you need to have first the development and then the production. Somehow it's connected. And it's 5,000 euros for the development and 10,000 euros for production. We see that it's not a big money, but this is what we felt it was somehow our rule from the very beginning. It's a lot putting together the funding system and all the conditions like Venice Meets West and all the other events that we organize that maybe we can possibly discuss later.
Alessandro, you just touched a very important point, which is that the possibility of putting yourself at stake as a producer and as a talent in a short film allows you to also meet other realities of production in regions that may not be the one where you're working and where generally your business is, but it's definitely the possibility of making a more sustainable ecosystem that is national. This is something we've been really experimenting a lot. I must also quote some other existing funds. You all know the pivotal experience of Pindemont, Torino Piemonte Film Commission, that has started financing regularly their short documentaries, for instance, as a great platform to train young producers and upcoming producers to the more complex European regulation and calls for projects. We must also say that, as Raffaella was saying, what is happening in Puglia with the opening of the so-called short format allows you also to be visible in other sections of our industry that are thriving financially more fast and more significantly than the traditional live action film. And in this I mean really the animation sector and of course the gigantic possibility represented by the gaming industry, which more and more is requiring true storytelling competence to develop its project. And as you can see, talents like Miyazaki start narrative video games that are basically constructed like gigantic pilots of TV series that then turn into video games that are deeply and very complexly rooted in narrative, pure narrative. So what we want to say today, and I see that already we are tight in time, right? We would like, of course, to open the floor to some questions, but this is just the initial conversation to understand that there is much more coming up that we want you guys to check not only at the website of each film commission and that the Italian film commissions .it website where you have the news of the existing funding. But we recommend you to consider that when you apply to us, please ask for support, even in the very initial phase, for location scouting and for creative connection. We don't want to be the ATM or the cash flow guarantee for projects where we have no place. That's not who we are. I can speak for everybody representing the various film commission professionals that are working in each region in Italy. We are really deeply embedded in the production strategy as well as in the creative process. So use up as much as you can the diffuse talent of our teams. We have incredible teams dedicated like ER doctors to solve the problems, but most and foremost, to build the most amazing projects. We like to come out with true stories. We love to see your talent flourish in ways that are going to be surprising for the planet. And we can do this in a very sustainable way. Don't forget that, like often happens, short films are talking to generations that are under 18. We have seen the over-the-top refuse at the very beginning, the short format, and now you see it on Disney Plus, on Netflix, you see it on Amazon Prime, entire sections dedicated in their libraries for the best short films. This means that it's not anymore your business card to the industry. It's your game in the industry. And we want you to take it very seriously, because your best allies are those that put you in the condition to work with the best teams. You need to build your own team, and you need to do it aware that if you start in the right way, you're going to lead the floor for a lot of new stories to be told. So I am sure you guys have some questions. I want also to confirm you that in these days, in these next 4 days, there are going to be various moments where we'll talk also about the other financial strategies, the other financial deadlines happening for the different funds in the various regions. But also we are all available through our emails, and I know that the team of the Olbia Film Network will put you in contact with us if you have specific questions. We want to make sure that you know that here in Olbia and also in remote, we're available for further inquiries. Do you have any questions at the moment? Or we... Yes, please. Can you say your name, please? And your producer? Fantastic. Good. Good for you. That's what they say. No, that's okay. It's just to record you properly. Okay, that's a great advice. So the suggestion is, yes, a good social platform. We must say that in Italy there is Centro del Corto, which is a national association that is in charge of organizing the short film market. We must say that there has been the increasing development of new distribution companies, Premiere Film that was also here in Olbia, and many more, Sayonara Film, a lot of producers that moved to distribution in order to create and generate online and in presence distribution strategies for the short films. And last but not least, the need of an existing platform for European films has been very seriously taken care for the Creative Europe teams. There is an overall project from the Creative Europe Media Fund to generate, after the lockdowns, the European funded platform. There are some issues and complications in terms of rights, and there is always the issue that if they come from the public administrations, they may sound a little bit too Stalinistic approaches to distribution. So the private sector is always welcome to propose. And yes, please tell us more about it in the days ahead. Thank you. Any more questions? I think we have space for 2 more, right? Is there any other curiosity? I would like to recap. What we have heard this morning is that, yes, in Italy there are regional funds specifically dedicated to short films. Some of them are opening to other formats and other platforms of distribution, including no limits in genre, no limits in possible international cooperation. Some have restrictions of expenditures, some have restrictions of the composition of the film crew. We all are open to suggestions. We also heard of the new possibilities coming from the province of Alto Adige, which we launched the fund in 2021. We heard from Puglia, the existing fund at the moment open for Italian producers that are located in the south or are interested to develop short films related to the representation of the reality in the south. And not only those are of course added as special projects to the existing funds. Friuli Venezia Giulia is leading the floor, investing extensively in development. Don't underestimate the power of development for short films that are too often rushed through deadlines and are delivered as incomplete. It's unacceptable that when we compare our capacity to create art and to create incredible stories to the American film schools that participate with real budgets to the run of the short films at the Oscars, Europeans can do better. And that often does not depend on the money. It does depend on development that is often misled and mistreated for the short film formats. It has to be taken seriously. Films must be shot when the script is ready, not too fast. Don't rush it, because we see the results. We see, oh, damage, if they only, And last but not least, we have heard many new possibilities for those of you that want to challenge the issues of, social balance, equal representation, female rights, underage rights, of course, sustainability. There are a lot of funding possibilities out there. They come from film commissions, often they come from bank foundations. You come from Switzerland. Foundations are leading gigantic capitals available for those that are creative. And I see here in the room a lot of talents coming from the animation. You guys already met yesterday. You know that there is a lot coming also in the educational segment. People are desperately in need for high quality content and offer for under 18 age groups. It's better to work with short formats. Not to mention the requirement from the various distribution companies and conglomerates for the distribution over the cell phones, the iPads, and the short film can actually be a high quality product for information, for advocacy, and social balance. So please surprise us, and thank you for joining us. I really want to thank Renate, I want to thank Alessandro, Raffaella, and once again, thank you Olbia and Sardinia for having us here.